Hello again, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Just exploring more of the homebrew races, following up with the advanced race guide with the race builder in the back of the book. This time I thought I would explore the um, bats in particular. I remember from Dungeons and Dragons there was a race called Desmodu. If I'm pronouncing it right or not, sorry. Um, So just going on something with those lines, just been seeing a lot of new things lately with some of the emerging races that are coming out in Pathfinder. Things like cat folk, rat folk, and such. So of course, I'll go with Batfolk. That's what I'll name this one. And I'm kind of looking for more of a subterranean feel to it, um, as things that we've seen with Drows, Snorv Neblin, the Deep Gnomes, um, other normal races on the top that may, have it at the bottom. So, on with Batfolk. What I'm going to do is feature them as a monstrous humanoid. So that would give them the Darkvision sense trait for no cost, since that's already included in the type build. So that's 3 points. Base speed, I'm going to make it slow. So that will be -1 for the cost. And as far as the size, I'm going to stay with medium. I thought about doing small, but what I sort of introduced to this build later on looks like it'd probably be best just to stay with the medium base. So, weaknesses. I should say weaknesses, but the ability score modifier, I went with weakness. So I went with a +2 to Dex, -4 to Constitution, and a +2 to Intelligence. The reason why I went with the -4 in the Con, just kind of given that theme that they're extremely delicate, their bone structure is thin, their chest cavity, ribs and such, it looks just very frail. But then I went with the attributes that they would be very clever and nimble for their kind. I know with the Desmodu they were strong. They even might have been large in size. But I just went with the inverse of that, just making them a little bit weak, frail, but capitalizing on their other abilities due to that hindrance through their particular racial quality. You could change that if you want, make them more of a stockier breed. I went with languages, Xenophobic. I kind of felt that they would be a closer, smaller knit community, so they would just have their one base language, and being that they're subterranean, you can imagine all the different conflicts, the multi-layers of the Underdark, Darklands. Certain things would probably be confined to certain areas, unexplored, uncharted, maybe an emergent race, or a persecuted race. So, went with that. And as far as the other languages based on a high intelligence score, you could do things like Undercommon, Gnome, Orc, Goblin, Terran. So it just depends if you want them to be a surface dweller or one that emerged from the caves or such, or even on the surface just from the caves from there as well. It doesn't have to be completely Underdark themed. Skill and feat traits, I went with the Cave Dweller one. And that gives you some bonuses to knowledge dungeoneering, +1 bonus, and survival checks made underground. And that was a 1 point cost. Also, this time I gave them a static bonus feat, and I chose blind fighting. So that is a 1 point cost for the blind fighting, and then 1 point cost for the bonus feat, static, and then 2 racial points for the blind fighting. So I'm kind of gonna let them have a uniqueness, just to have them skills with combat, whether they're just a mage or some other caster, and they are capitalizing on the darkness of the surroundings and such, or if it's more of a melee class, traveling around in the darkest depths. They have honed their skills using what surroundings they've always been accustomed to. So the next one will be sense traits, going along with that blind fighting feat. I went with Darkvision, 60 feet, but that's already included in the Monstrous Humanoid type, so there's no cost for that. But then in addition to that, I went with Blindsense, 30 feet. So that's not really overpowered ability once you really kind of take a look at it in like combat scenarios and such. Let me just get to that. Using non-visual senses such as acute smelling or hearing, members of this race notice things they cannot see. They don't need to make perception checks to pinpoint the location of a creature within 30 feet, provided they have line of effect to that creature. A creature that members of this race cannot see still has total concealment against individuals with blind sense, and members of this race still have the normal mischance when attacking creatures that have concealment. Visibility still affects the movement of members of this race. Members of this race are still denied their dexterity bonus to AC against attacks from creatures they cannot see. So that's what I went with for the 4 points there. And instead of calling it Blindsense, I was thinking of calling it echolocation. So maybe through the Blindsense feature, they would use that echo call. Now, from a GM standpoint, you can perhaps maybe have the monsters or whoever's in that encounter roll perception checks to pinpoint, or at least to hear these sort of squawks. So it just depends on how you want to base that theme, but that's what I'm going to do, kind of using that Blindsense feature for that as a inherent ability, although I'm still going to give a weight to it for the 4 racial points. And then also seeing darkness under the advanced traits for the senses, where members of this race can see perfectly in darkness of any kind, including that created by spells such as deeper darkness. So you can already kind of see the theme there. And as far as movement traits, I went with climb, 20 feet. I'm getting a +8 racial bonus on climb checks that climb speed normally grants. So that's 2 points. And just given like the nature of the subterranean passages, they would be natural climbers. And of course, the last point of this whole thing, given the whole bat theme there, you definitely want to give them flight. And that's under advanced traits as well. There's no prerequisites. So it's normally a 4 point cost. I bumped it up to 2 more points as it shows or reads in the flight description here, so that instead of 30 feet, they would have additional 10 feet, making it 40 feet total. And instead of maneuverability poor, it would then, or clumsy, it would be average. So that's a total of 6 racial points there. So this was a pretty quick one to go off of. I kind of just used the theme of the darkness package with that. If you want, you can swap some things around, where if you want them to have like light sensitivity, if you want to make them stronger, maybe a smaller frame. Feel free to shoot me any comments on this one. This one went pretty fast. The total racial points is 20 on this, so that's not too bad. That's kind of just slightly a little more than maybe Azamar or Tieflin. So it's not overpowered at all. There are some features that that would work well with them. But then again, other people in the team, that may hurt or help them. So you can kind of see some of the features of that already. So that's all I got right now. This was just real quick. I didn't believe how fast it would go, but it did. So normally just take a lot more time. But feel free to comment, and if any of you out there have anything that you were interested in, and maybe we're having a hard time trying to put it together, feel free to let me know, and I can come up with something as well, and see how that works out. So thanks for checking me out. Not in that kind of way though.